Yeah, that's a great question. So there are so many examples. I understand the frustration that a lot of people feel when we talk about technology and how it's going to disrupt education and training because there's no going to anymore. It is. A lot of the technology trends that we love to talk about, whether it's virtual reality and augmented reality, or artificial intelligence, or 5G and connectivity, these technology trends aren't on the horizon. They're here. There are plenty of applications where these tech trends are being implemented. And so it's no different in technology and education. So the frustration is, why do we keep talking about how these technology trends are going to disrupt education and training when they already are? And can't we be sharing some of the examples of how they're already doing that? So absolutely, I'm happy to share some examples for virtual reality. That's one of my favorites. And I think people like to dream big about what virtual reality could do. And there's a lot of exciting innovation that's happening that makes it possible to think about the future. But let's talk about what's going on right now. I think one of my favorite examples to discuss is, Delta Airlines. They've been really public and shared some really cool ways that they are considering virtual reality to be important to their learning process, not in the future, but right now. So they have talked about training programs that they use for flight attendants. And I think one of the examples that was really cool to me was how a flight attendant may need to identify a hazardous or a banned material while on a flight. Maybe a customer brought that material on board and it's not something that's safe to have and they need to deal with that situation. That's not something that you can necessarily replicate in the real world as part of training. So if you picture a flight attendant who's training, it's unlikely that they're going to encounter that situation naturally, and it may be unsafe, right, to try and train for that in the real world. Virtual reality is perfect for that. If they can create a virtual reality simulation where the flight attendant goes through that situation where, say, a customer has brought something like that on board and they have to deal with that, it's perfect. Virtual reality is the perfect solution for that because then they're able to experience that, they're able to train for that, but in a safe environment. It doesn't put customers at risk. It's something that can be replicated at any time, whenever that training is best for that flight attendant, versus the real world where it would just be spontaneous. So I love that example. And to your question, that is something that they have talked about that's going on right now. That's not something that they're dreaming about for the future or talking about as a potential disruption. That's an example of how they're leveraging virtual reality right now. And I think, virtual reality, that was a great question. And there are certainly more examples of that. But I think we can apply this same discussion to so many tech trends and disruptions. I think we can talk about how education and training, whether it's online learning or just in time training or mobile learning or even traditional university or community college learning going on in medical centers or in government or military applications, we can talk about how technology is disrupting in those spaces right now, not how it's going to in the future, but real examples of companies or brands or organizations that are doing this now. And I'm happy to continue doing that. We've talked about, there's a fun hashtag, it's called Transformation Tuesday. And a lot of times that hashtag is for, before and after pictures of something you did DIY or something like that. But I think it would be really fun to use that hashtag to show digital transformations. And we could do that over the next few weeks. I'm happy to share more of these case studies that way. So I can stick with virtual reality since that was your question, and I can share some more examples of that for the first one. But then if you'd like, you can follow us and look for that hashtag Transformation Tuesday. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm happy to share more examples of how these tech trends are disrupting education and training, not in the future, but now, things that are happening right now. So happy to do that. That was a great question. I think a lot of people also want to see those real world examples that are happening now, rather than talking about just what could happen. It's always exciting to be future focused and future thinking and thinking about what could be possible. But I think it's also really helpful for practitioners to know what's going on right now. What are things that they could bring into their own classrooms or training programs? So look out for that hashtag Transformation Tuesday, and I'm happy to continue sharing those. Thanks for your question.